Hi everybody, hope you're well. So, wow, my Libram 5 video has gotten the response of the guy called Pizza Loving Nerd. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna. For some reason, his comment isn't visible in the video yet. I don't know why this happens. Really pisses me off with YouTube. I get comments via email every time they're posted on my phone, and I go to the video that he's talking about, and it says quantity 2 or whatever, but you can only see the one ahead of it, and then this one's invisible. Hopefully it'll turn up in a couple of days. I may try to post it to this video so you guys can read it now, but first I'm going to read you the entire comment, and then I'm gonna dissect it, and I'm gonna get a little angry and a little "I told you so" and a few complaints and a few other things I'm sure too. So let's get started, shall we? Tighten up your seatbelts. It's gonna be a rough ride. So he says, "I am indeed the guy who does the community update videos for Pine 64. LOL." So I was correct. I recognize his voice. So this guy is Pine 64. So he must work for the company or must be in with them. So you got to take everything he says with a grain of salt because he's going to be biased. Anyway, calling does work on both the Libram 5 and on the PinePhone if you have the right carrier, but it currently has issues on CDMA carriers. Eventually, I will have a Mint mobile SIM, but for now, I cannot test that. As for the original PinePhone, it is not supposed to be daily driven. That's what the PinePhone Pro is for. It's supposed to be a development device for development on Linux mobile devices. As for the battery life on the PinePhone, when it first came out, it had a terrible battery life that you described. But now with Crust Sleep, it's lasting a very long time. I'd try it again. As for Pure OS being unsupported, it is only unsupported on the PinePhone, as that was maintained by a community member who quit, so we lost some staff apparently. While Purism does maintain Pure OS for the Libram 5, as for the late review, I got a Libram 5 from a pre-order like most people, while all the people who got one before me was press people and developers. As for the lack of PinePhone Pro reviews, the PinePhone Pro isn't out yet. The only people who own one are developers. That's why there are no reviews on it. Okay. So, yeah, I have conflicting emotions on all this thing the guy says. So, okay, so let's go back to the beginning. So he's the voice of Pine 64. So, yeah, I don't know if I respect him or not, but and we'll go through why I don't think I respect him when we go through this, because Pine 64 is a crook company, and what he just says here confirms that I am correct that they're a crooked company. So, if you have the right carrier, well, I guess I'm on CDMA, so I lose. Now, when I purchased the phone, the web page said I was going to be a valued end user, and if I want security, the phone would be right for me. And yeah, sure, it's in beta, and I'm glad you didn't use the beta excuse. Clearly, you saw my video on what using the term beta means and how developer and beta are not the same thing. So nobody told me I was buying a phone for developers. They were telling me I was buying a phone for beta, which it is not in a state good enough to be released for beta, because if you watch my video on what beta really means, the PinePhone doesn't measure up to it. So anyway, so I have a phone that I'm going to have to change providers for it to work properly, and I'm struggling to believe that he's being honest with us there, because I can't test it to see if it does, So comment below, anybody who has a non-CDMA carrier, please comment on how great your phone works. And those of you who are on CDMA, please comment on how your phone sucks. And we'll see if we can use a measure of votes to determine whether he's correct or not. Okay, so then he says, eventually I will have a Mint mobile SIM. I'm not sure what he's talking about. I don't remember. I watched the video before recording this. I don't recall talking about Mint. Um, I'm assuming that's an operating system. And what's it got to do with a SIM card is something to do with the phone company. So I'm not sure what he's saying, but it says anyway. But for now, I cannot test that. Not sure what he says. So he's got something about Mint and he can't test it, but I'm not sure what it has to do with CDMA and all that stuff. So I'm kind of confused on that comment. As for the original Pine phone, this is not supposed to be daily driven. Well, that's what the Pine phone Pro is for. Excuse me. I got mine 5 months ago. The Pine phone Pro didn't exist. What would your excuse be for back then? Now you have a new excuse that it's supposed to be a development device for develop. Well, you never told that to anybody. It doesn't say that on the website. You know, it's a worst form of fraud I've ever seen. You bullshit me to get my money to fund your operation, and gave me a phone that doesn't work. And I'm pretty sure when I checked the specifications, there was no disclaimer that there was a problem on CDMA carriers when I checked to see that it would work with my provider. If it didn't say that, I wouldn't have gotten it, because I'm not going to change providers for a flippin' Pine phone. Anyway, let's move on. As for battery life on the Pine phone, when it first came out, it had terrible battery life, yes, that I described. Now this Crust Sleep, I tried Googling it. I'm struggling to locate what it is. How do I get it on my phone, and how do I turn it on? I don't know. Some comments would be good there. And is it still gonna wake up when it needs to do something, or is Crust Sleep just like turning the phone off and having it being unusable? Because that was one of my short list of things that have to be fixed for this phone to function. But apparently I'm wasting my time, because this phone was never meant for daily driving. So do I just throw it in the garbage now, or the electronic recycling bin? What should I do with this phone now, pizza loving nerd? That now that you tell me it's not going to be for daily use ever. Is that what you're saying? Never. So I've thrown my money away. Well, let's hope not, because I'm going to be pissed about that for a long time. Anyway, so he says it lasts a very long time. I try it again, and once I figure out how to install and or enable it, I will give it another try, because that'll get me a little bit closer to having a phone that functions, maybe. Okay, now as for Pure OS being unsupported, it is only unsupported on the Pine phone, as that was maintained by a community member who quit. Not sure why he's mentioning that. I'm not sure what Pure OS is. I don't remember commenting on it, but somebody quit. I guess that's a problem with open source software when you're not paying anybody. I mean, hopefully these guys make notes, so the next guy that takes over the project can read the last guy's notes and pick up where he left off. Or do they have to start over? I don't know. It doesn't sound very professional, that's for sure. My God, I'm pretty sure this Pine phone thing is dead in the water, based on what I'm reading. Anyway, while Purism does maintain Pure OS, okay, so for the Libram 5, so Purism must be a software company that makes that operating system, I guess. So okay, let me see. So it's only supported on the Pine phone. So it's the guy who supports it on the Pine phone that is not supporting it anymore because he quit. Okay, and I guess Purism is not a big Pine phone fan, so they're only doing the Libram 5. Maybe I understand that now. As for the late review, I got a Libram 5 from a pre-order like most. Okay, yeah, I understand it was hard. The phone never really got released in time, and not enough people had it. As for the lack of Pine phone Pro reviews, the Pine phone Pro isn't out yet. The only people who own one are developers. That's why there are no reviews on it yet. Well, that's probably true, but I have to point out to you that I saw several reviews where the guys didn't even have a Pine phone Pro to review, and they were reviewing it anyway. So it doesn't really stop anyone from reviewing it. And from what I understand, and I don't remember which video I heard somebody say this in, but everyone who wanted a PinePhone Pro, all the developers, you've stopped taking orders because you've filled to capacity, or you've got your limit or something like that. So surely they should be out there by now. I mean, it's been almost a month. Although maybe with shipping these days, maybe it's sitting on a freighter in the middle of the Pacific, waiting to be unloaded. I don't know, but I think there are other reasons why there's not too many reviews on it, and I want to backtrack to where you say the PinePhone Pro is for a daily driver. Well, if you watch some of my other videos, one recently, can't tell you which one without watching them all again. I think maybe you in a commercial said the PinePhone Pro currently doesn't move, the phone calling doesn't work on it. So if it's for that, why doesn't it come ready to go? It's a fair question, don't you think? I think so. Anyway, having said all that, I'm very disappointed. Again, it's just more bad news for the original PinePhone owner that he owns a brick, not a phone. And I'm not sure what else to say. I'm going to pause it for a minute and collect my thoughts, see if I can add to that. Yeah. So in closing, if the original PinePhone was supposed to be for developers, why did you sell me one? Why didn't you tell me that? And the PinePhone Pro apparently is supposed to be one that is daily driven capable. You're still only selling it to developers, and you're saying it this time, but I bought my PinePhone a year after it was released. Surely that's a long enough time for all the developers to get them, for all this shit to be worked out. I say again, the PinePhone, and it looks like you're confirming it, the PinePhone will never become a daily driver phone. It's a brick. It was built to be a brick. I'm getting the impression it was designed to generate revenue for this project, not to sell consumers end user devices. Anyway, having said that, thanks for responding, PLN. That's a nice acronym. I'm dismayed at what you say, and I think you and the gang at Pine 64 need to take a course on ethics, and look at what you're doing, and who you're doing it to, and why you're doing it, and you need to come to terms with that, and make some things that are wrong right. That's what you need to do. Really, I'm not kidding about that. It's terrible that you deceive what the reality is, and then it's like you just now you're moving the goalposts, that now the Pro is now the one you need to do. As I suspected, as soon as the Pro came out, I suddenly owned a brick, and you've just confirmed it for me, and I'm just repeating myself, so I'm going to stop. Thanks for watching, everybody. Oh yeah, Sparky's not here today, so he still is not going to buy a PinePhone or a PinePhone Pro, he tells me, until something changes drastically with the company and the people who support it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.